Hey, good morning. For you on the West Coast, out in the Pacific, Northern Mariana Islands, my favorite place, never have been, want to go. Good afternoon to those of you on the West Coast, East Coast here. Sorry. Um, Excited to start another day here. I did want to say thanks to the people who were putting the chats in the chat. That thank you for the reminders and the invites. We work really hard at it. Gus, in particular, works really hard at it as we tag team on bringing this content to you. And so I like seeing it when people are giving us a little bit of feedback that we're doing the right things that bring value to your day. Hey, we're going to get started in just a second, but I did want to tell you that I posted something on my feed this morning, and we did it yesterday in the chamber. Posted out to the chamber. But if you're not subscribed to our newsletter, we just released this week's newsletter. It's got a couple of tips in there for BD and capture. And it's also got the list of this week's training. So we're into day 2 here on August 16th, and we're heading on into the next 4 days of continuous training. So definitely take a look at the newsletter. If you know others who are in the GovCon space, share it with them. Let them know about what we're doing here, partly for their benefit, but also for our own benefit. If we can attract them into this community, we just get one more buyer or seller or supporter of those two joining the community and really making this community more valuable for everybody. Okay, let me go ahead and turn this, caption off that runs at the bottom. By the way, I'm still dealing with the kind of little, too much fun in the sun voice. So you'll forgive me for that, but I actually had fun this weekend. We're going to get started right here. For those of you who don't know me, I am Neil McDonald. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, and I want to welcome you to my daily LinkedIn Lives where I do federal sales training and discuss process and procedures for you to achieve success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market as a small business owner, and since 2018, I've been teaching people just like you that government contracting is not a secret, it's just a process. When we follow the process from A to Z, we'll achieve the success or the outcome that we're looking for. And that's why we're a big proponent of teaching the process, which we call the how, right? A lot of us will hear the what. In this training, I try to bring the how to the what. Today, we're going to talk about your sales pipeline. In particular, I want to talk to you about what should be in it. It's really important to me that we have high quality sales pipelines because that's what leads to success. And so I'm going to give you some tips on how to evaluate your pipeline today. Before we get started, to help buyers and others in the community and me, remember who you are. In the chat, put your core competency, 2 or 3 words that describe what your company does. So your core competency and your company name. And remember, if you're able to, in the chat, use the @ symbol in your company name so that it's we can hyperlink straight back to your LinkedIn page, or others in the community, if they look at what you do, say you do cybersecurity, and they go, oh, we're looking for other cybersecurity companies. If you have that @ and then company name, they can click right through. So that's really important. And definitely engage. I'm not going to be able to see the chat much as we go along. I try to stay focused on my training. But if you engage in the community, you will find teammates and others that you can work with and begin to build a relationship. That's what a lot of the success comes from, right? Is having good relationships. So today I'm going to go through pretty fast on what should be in your pipeline. I'm going to cover all of this content under 3 main topics. What are pipelines and the value of a pipeline? What's the impact of not focusing on your core competency in that pipeline? And then 3 ways to look at your pipeline to check the health and to see where you're at in current state, which will allow you to prepare some action items to move forward. So let's go ahead and get started about what are pipelines and what's the value, right? I think sometimes we all feel like we have to just assume everybody knows some basic information, but I believe that's a false assumption. I don't like assuming that you know what I know, and I don't like assuming that I know what you're trying to communicate to me. I'd rather have that dialogue and for us to make sure we get to the same page, and then we can grow together. And in this particular case, when I talk about what is a sales pipeline, I'm really just going back to this fundamentals that a sales pipeline is basically just a place to keep your federal opportunities so you can track what opportunities you have and you can track their progress towards award. The only purpose of a sales pipeline is to feed opportunities out at the end, or a sales funnel, right? A sales pipeline is just a sales funnel laid on its side. But it's just designed to bring opportunities to a conclusion, a natural conclusion. A good one is we win the contract, right? That's the whole idea of it. What I want you to do in today's training is just forget about the tools, right? Sometimes we get caught up in fancy tools, whether it's GovWin or CRM type tools. We get caught up in tools that integrate, hey, let me go integrate a bunch of data and bring it down. That's not sales, and that's not a pipeline. Those are helpful tools, right? But they're not, we don't need to pay attention to it. I say that you just need to know the opportunity through and through. You could use a spreadsheet. I could use my whiteboard and track my pipeline better than most people if they get caught up in a tool. The other reason I don't particularly like talking about tools when I'm talking about the action of sales is because tools are what I call constructive procrastination. You might think of them also as an administrative overhead, where salespeople are having to go into the tool and keep them up to date and all this kind of thing. I don't want them to have to worry about the bureaucracy. Salespeople's job, our job, is to move a sale forward. And so, yes, tools are very valuable, but those are second once you figure out the process and you understand it. But another thing you want to keep in mind is a good sales pipeline in the federal space tracks our opportunities, right? Your pipeline tracks your opportunities. It does not track every opportunity that the Navy has or every possible opportunity that could fit our world. That's not the point of a sales pipeline. You want to protect that pipeline. It's not a marketing tool where, it's okay to dump thousands or hundreds of thousands of leads in to a marketing funnel to try to get some leads and contacts out. The sales pipeline is an area that will distract us when we look at it. We want it to only distract us on the opportunities we are sure to win. And so it's important to keep in mind your core competency. That's why I said at the beginning, what are the 2 or 3 words that describe your core competency? When you know those, you can look to your pipeline and go, are those opportunities aligned directly to my 2 or 3 words? For example, Office 365 or Microsoft 365 and SharePoint, right? Those are 2 or 3 words that describe my core competency. When I look to the pipeline, I can see that those opportunities are aligned to it. The other thing I want you to understand about the pipeline value is you want to think about it from various roles, right? You're in one role within your company. Even if you own the company, right? You've got different hats on. And so you're looking at it from different roles. Just really quickly, the roles that I talk about who find value in the pipeline, who need this pipeline to be a quality pipeline, are leaders of the company, the CFO or financial people, the salespeople. Generally, it's you if you're on this call, right? Writers and graphic people. That's number 4. Number 5 are service delivery to the customers. What I talk about, the people doing the actual work for us. And then talent acquisition. So number 6, talent acquisition. So leaders are trying to make decisions in the out year. They look at the pipeline and they need to be able to count on the pipeline, predicting the money that will come into the company as opportunities pass through the pipeline. So leaders are looking at that to make decisions for next year and the year out. Should we acquire a new office building or get a new lease at a new office building, as an example? The financial people are looking at that same thing. What can we afford to do? Should we be increasing our training for people? Should we send everybody to Hawaii? Whatever it is, financial people are making decisions on the financial health of the company. They do that by looking at the pipeline, which is the revenue indicator. It's indicating to us how much revenue we expect to come in next year and the year after. And so when we have a good pipeline, these people can use it. And that's a major value. Salespeople like you understand the value of a pipeline to you, right? It helps you track an opportunity through and know where that opportunity is in the stages of a sale. And that's the value of a pipeline to salespeople in a nutshell. Writers, graphic folks, they're able to predict out what you'll need for the proposal long before you get to the RFP drop. If you have a reliable pipeline, they can be looking out and going, okay, I see what kind of graphics we might need, or I can see what kind of, hey, we need to write an agile software development approach or something. They can begin to get early starts on opportunities you have in the pipeline when it's a pipeline of quality, or they can value that pipeline. Service delivery. these people and talent acquisition, they kind of go hand in hand. What contracts are we expecting to win? Talent acquisition needs to know long in advance so they can start that recruitment process, right? Generating a lot of interest, maybe in the candidate pool that they have of opportunities that are coming through the pipeline. And when things are getting further in the pipeline, they need to know that they can rely on those because they will make their efforts, they will shape their efforts around what you have in the pipeline. Same thing with the service delivery people. What kind of people do we need? Do I need to shift somebody off of one contract to get on the next? And so when you think about the pipeline and why it's so important, in the value of it, remember more than just the role that you're in, right? There's a lot of people in your company who use it. So if you understand the value of your sales pipeline, if you understand what I'm saying, go ahead and put #sales into the chat. And when I say hashtag, I mean the # and then the word sales, all one word. If you put that in, it lets me know that what I'm saying makes sense to you. And it also, by the way, pushes this out to further people so you can find it. So put #sales in. Let's see who the first person is gets that hashtag right. So let's talk about the next part is the impact of the negative impact of not focusing on your core competencies. So a minute ago, I was saying, there you go, hashtags in there. Thank you. A minute ago, I was talking about the value of the pipeline, but if you're getting poor quality or more importantly, opportunities that are not your core competency into your pipeline, then you're going to have problems, right? Your pipeline needs to be protected. It needs to be pristine for your own benefit as a salesperson, but also for all those roles that I talked about earlier. So when you get an opportunity that is not aligned to your core competency, you're going to get a poor quality pipeline. What a poor quality pipeline looks like is, let's say you have 10 opportunities in, but many of them begin to get abandoned farther down in the sales life cycle, and many of them that you're submitting proposals for don't win. And this is because you have opportunities that are in your pipeline that are not in your sweet spot. Just using SharePoint as my example today. If you're a SharePoint company, but you're putting in Salesforce type opportunities, go, well, we could do a little integration. Well, now you're rationalizing why something should go into your pipeline compared to you and your colleagues going, oh my gosh, that's a slam dunk for us, right? And so you want to make sure you're protecting against poor quality. And that happens poor quality happens when you put non-core comp opportunities in. So junk in gets junk out. That example I just talked about, not winning, right? But there's also opportunity costs. If you have opportunities in, and let's say you have 4 opportunities in, 2 are good, 2 are the slam dunks, and 2 are the ones that I'm saying should not be in there. Well, the problem is your company, if it's in the pipeline, your company as a whole, you and your colleagues have no idea which ones are good and which ones are bad. If they're in our pipeline, they must be good. So let's work on it. While you're working on the 2 that are bad, you're only giving a limited amount of effort to the 2 that are good, because let's say you spend 25% on each one of the 4. But if you got rid of these bad ones and you didn't have them, then you could increase by 100% the effort you're putting onto the 2 that are good. And if these 2 that are good are ones that you can slam dunk, then when you increase your effort, you're increasing your capture, knowledge of the opportunity and shaping the opportunity, which then leads to the proposal people who are also part of that sales pipeline, increasing their effort. They don't have to spend cycles and energy writing to opportunities that are just not right for them. And they can write to these 2 that even they know that they're slam dunks, right? So opportunity cost in its simplest explanation is that if you have bad opportunities or opportunities you're most likely not going to win in there, they're not only just not going to win, they're perhaps going to take away from and make you lose the opportunities you should win. Another thing that's really important is falsely feeling good about yourself and your efforts, right? If we have a lot of opportunities in our pipeline and we're kind of juggling them around, doing things every day, every week, we can report activity. But activity just by itself is not a good thing, right? You want to do the right thing in the right way and enough of the right things. And if you have opportunities that are not really tightly aligned to your core competency, then your activity in there will give you a false sense of worth for the activity. Hey, I feel good about myself today. I did a good job. And you'll feel good about the efforts. Hey, I was able to reach out to this program office, or I was able to do this activity. But the problem is you're doing that activity on things that are not going to win. I mean, if you really look and follow it all the way through and track it, you will see that it won't win. And so by putting these bad opportunities in, and especially if they're like sales first example before, where it kind of aligns, it gives us this false sense of purpose and worth. The last thing I want you to keep in mind is the Pareto's law is 80-20 rule is what I call it, but Pareto's law. And basically it says 20% of what's in your pipeline will deliver 80% of your wins, your success. 20% of what's in your pipeline right now will give you 80% of your revenue, your success, your sales. What that really means is that 80% that's in there should not be in there. Even if it gives you 20% of your success, you should get rid of that 80% is my recommendation, right? If you follow the 80-20 rule, 20% of what's in your pipeline right now is awesome. We'll leave that and then replace the other 80%. Get rid of it, look at it and go, if we're rationalizing it all, let's get rid of it and put in new opportunities, or perhaps put no opportunities and focus on those 20%, which will bring 80% of your revenue. Focus on those and bring them forward. It's really hard for us to throw away things that we feel like might be good. If you can't say for certain that it's a great opportunity and we could do it better than anybody else, then it doesn't belong in your pipeline. Hope that makes sense. If you understand what I'm saying there, and if you understand that 20% of your pipeline is going to represent 80% of your success, put Pareto's law in the chat. Let me know you're tracking on that one. Pareto's law with a T. And every time I get you to do that, by the way, I get to drink water. It's my little hydration game. Okay, so let's move into the third portion of this training for today on what should be in your sales pipeline. Here, I want to talk about 3 ways to look at your pipeline. And so I know that you might not be at the same level as somebody else who's on this training, but when you look at your pipeline, you want to look at 3 things. I'm going to break them down in a second, but the 3 things are: what position are we, sub or prime? So what position, what dollar value, and what is the time focus on this? So position, dollar, and time. Position, what this, and actually, let me show you a graphic I have on this. Got it. Okay, so position's pretty straightforward, right? What I want you to do is look at your pipeline. You should have, depending on your size, right? If you're brand new, you should only have the one on the left, sub, under, smalls. But generally, most of our companies, we should have 3 types of opportunities that are in our pipeline. When you look in, you should be able to categorize them or group them by these 3 groups. Opportunities where I am a subcontractor under a small business, like an 8A firm, I might be subcontracting under them. That's one type of opportunity. Another one is I'm priming it, so going directly to the agency. And the third one is I'm subbing under a large. What I'm recommending is that you can, as you look at your pipeline and as you continue to fill your pipeline, you should move at this 2-to-1 ratio where there's 2 subcontracting opportunities in your pipeline for every one that you prime. I don't want to go too far into this, but if you actually look at your year, you should be writing at least 12 proposals a year, 1 a month, right? And the bigger you are, the more that number should increase to 2 a month, 3 a month, whatever. But my 12 a month is a really good basic standard, right? And the idea is every quarter, you're writing 1 opportunity where you're the prime, and you're on 2 teams where you're the sub, 1 a small and 1 a large. That's all I want you to do when you look at that, look at the pipeline and you consider it from those categories. Do you have your opportunities spread out that way? And if you don't, consider doing so, because if you're heavy, let's say on opportunities that are priming, well, that's a major lift. It's a major lift during capture and it's a major lift during proposal. But if you sub under another competent teammate, a strategic partner of yours, then they'll take the lead. They'll be doing 80% of the work on the opportunity. You'll be doing 20% of the work. You can handle a lot more subcontracting opportunities than you can prime, just from a pure resource standpoint. Let me come back here really quick. Okay, so hopefully that made sense. By the way, if you want that graphic I just showed you, if you like that handout, just put revenue roadmap in the chat and I'll send it to you. But what I wanted you to do is to go check out 2 videos. If this is your first time hearing me talk about the 3 ways to make money, go check out video number 1 and video number 96. Both of them explain what I mean when I say that there's 3 ways to make money in the federal market, and the 3 ways I just explained to you. Okay, so that's video 1 and video 96. So the next thing I want to talk to you about when you look at your pipeline is you want to look at dollar value. And I don't have a graph to show you on this, but I do have a handout and a video I'll tell you about in a second. But when you look at your pipeline, the first thing to keep in mind, just holistically, your company should have a revenue goal in the federal space. How much money are you trying to earn 2022, right? Or 2023? That's not that far away that you should already be thinking about a revenue goal. In fact, don't write this down or anything, but in your mind, answer this question: how much money are you trying to earn? New sales this year, and you can do it with a flip with revenue next year, right? 2023. If you're looking out there, what's your revenue looking like? And just say it to yourself, not to us. But is it 1 million? Is it 20 million? Whatever the number, that's your goal, right? And it's important to remember this because now, in its simplest form in sales, I reverse engineer things back to how do I get to that $1 million sales goal for this year? I look at my proposal numbers. How many opportunities have I written a proposal for that it's out? I look at, and here I say qualified opportunities. And what I mean is any opportunities that are in my core competency at any stage, right? I'm not really trying to break down the gates or the capture phases in this training, but really, what opportunities do I have in there that are qualified? And then my last category is unqualified. So to me, unqualified is where I'm still trying to get traction. It looks good, but I'm still trying to get that first traction with the customer where they can answer my questions about, is this opportunity really real? But when you look at those numbers, right, if you have $1 million goal, the way I describe numbers is that you have to, in order to make $1 million, generally what I like to say is you either need to submit 4 different proposals at $1 million, or you can do a similar type math. Let's say 8 proposals at 500,000. And the reason I say this is because if you don't have your own metric, I believe that 1 out of 4, 25% win rate is a normal expectation for somebody who's going after core competencies. You should be able to get to 50%, right? But that's a whole different set of training, a whole different game. But you should not be less than 1 out of every 4 proposals winning. And so when you look at proposals and the opportunities you got in the pipeline that you're working, those numbers all break down. I know I'm just saying it pretty vaguely here, but if you go watch my video number 59, in that one, I spend 30 minutes training you just about the pipeline and just about the numbers. And I give you a worksheet on how you can fill it out, how you can put $1 million as the goal, and how to know what the number should be in proposal, what the number should be in bid or pursue or qualified, right? In those stages, by doing that, it allows you to look in. And if all you have in the pipeline are opportunities that are in your sweet spot, your core competency, then these numbers will tell you, you will know the exact numbers that you must have at these stages in order to get this amount of money. That's normal sales, right? Normal sales is we can look at a pipeline and predict our success. If you can't predict the revenue, if you don't trust your pipeline, then there's a problem with the process, right? There might be a little problem with the math that you have to look at, but generally it's a problem with believing in the process. And the most important place we fail is putting things into the pipeline that aren't likely to win. So it screws our win rate. But if you get good at only putting opportunities in that are core competency related, you will have a pipeline you can trust and you will have a predictable set of revenue. So anyways, the second way of looking at your pipeline is the dollar value. And in this case, you want to go watch episode 59 for the training. And by the way, if you want me to give you a handout, we handed this out on episode 59, but put pipeline planning handout so I know what you want, because I'll come back after the fact. But that handout's already done, so I can get it to you pretty quickly today. But that's pipeline planning handout, and that's that worksheet for how to look at your pipeline. Third thing I wanted to say, and this is just time, right, is look at your pipeline and break it down by time. And I want 3 categories. I want this year, next year, and the year after. It's pretty simple. 2 years out, 1 year out, this year. And the reason I say this is there needs to be a balance in your pipeline, that you're looking at the urgent, the time sensitive, and you're looking at out years, right? Don't look beyond 2 years. Unless you're a larger company and you got extra resources, don't bother looking in the out year. And the reason I say that generally is because when we look too far out, we're doing constructive procrastination. It's constructive, but it's procrastinating away from looking at this year. We need to win money this year and then look at next year. And the out years can kind of take care of themselves. Don't worry about trying to plan out everything 5 years out. Unless you have something very strategic, and then go ahead and put it in. Like, I know I'm going after this one 4 years from now because we just won it and we want to recompete, or we just lost it and we want to recompete. That's okay to get that in your pipeline, but don't go to GovWin and try to pull down stuff for 5 years out. Okay, in this year though, make sure you're looking at break this year down into what are we going after in the next 3 months and the next 6 months. I just want you to look at your pipeline. Take 2 seconds, it might be 2 minutes or even 2 hours, but take a little bit of time to separate your pipeline opportunities into this time focus. What are we going after in the next 3 months, 6 months, next year, and the year after, right? And you should be able to do that pretty quickly. And you just want to make sure you have a good balance. In the next 3 months, you should have at least 3 opportunities. If you've got a lot of opportunities 12 months out, but not that many in 3, it gives you a heads up that maybe you need to focus on that. Same thing with the other timelines. So, okay, so we're running out of time. I hope that part made sense. Let me just come back. Reminder on the handouts, right, that I said you can put in, where was that handout? It said Pareto's Law. Oh, revenue map if you want the 3 ways to look at the pipeline, and pipeline planning handout if you want to. So these are the handouts for looking at the pipeline. If you want those, let me know. Okay, so in this training, we talked about what should be in the sales pipeline. And the most important thing I want you to take away from today is it's better to have nothing in your pipeline than to have junk. If you have nothing in your pipeline, you'll go do business development and find something. If you have junk in your pipeline, you'll work on it and won't win it. Does that make sense? So it's better to have nothing than to have junk. If you had found value in today's training, if this all made sense, give me a thumbs up. I appreciate you joining. Thank you for joining me today. And remember, government contracting, it's not a secret. It's just a process. I'll see you in the next training.